Hey my friend, let's talk about the 3 phases of psychedelic integration. So, in each and every psychedelic journey, there are 3 parts to the journey, right? One is preparation, one is the navigation and the initiation, and one is what is commonly known as the integration. And most people think that psychedelic integration only belongs to this third pillar, to this third phase of what happens after the journey. But actually my proposal here is that the preparation and the navigation are just as important or even more important than the third stage of the psychedelic integration itself. And there is a secret kind of like piece that I'm going to share later on in this video that is very important in looking at these 3 phases of psychedelic integration. So hey, I'm Vergo. I'm a psychedelic integration coach. I've been working with psychedelics for over a decade now, almost. And as I've been going about my journey of psychedelic integration and what I call psychedelic actualization, utilizing psychedelic experiences for for self-realization and self-actualization, for living a more authentic and fulfilling life, I inevitably came across, these frameworks of set and setting, of preparing for a psychedelic experience, of navigating the space physically but also mentally, being really aware of what is happening throughout the journeying itself, and then the integration. What that even means, being out in community, connecting with other like-minded people, doing the spiritual practices, going to therapy, whatever else, whatever it is and whatever it entails. It's been a whole journey, and yeah, what I discovered is basically what I want to share here. It's these 3 phases of integration. So let's start with the first one. The first one is preparation. There's a saying in the psychedelic community and it says, an ounce of preparation is worth a pound of integration. An ounce of preparation is worth a pound of integration. And it's true. It is true that when we put the awareness of our attention into the journey long before we even take the psychedelic, it influences the journey itself and the integration and the ease of integration massively. So just imagine, when today you're having a feeling in your stomach and you're like, I'm just gonna pop 500 mics of LSD. Or a friend is calling you and it's like, yeah, there's an ayahuasca ceremony tomorrow. And you're like, yes, I'm in. All right, let's do it. There inevitably is not enough space to really tune into the space. You're maybe you have still 20 emails to answer. There's something on your house that you need to fix. Your mind is busy with daily life, with ordinary life. You gotta have these calls, go to work, and then maybe after work you drive on to the ayahuasca experience. And then in the experience itself, your mind is still juggling, hasn't even calmed down the waters of busyness that are going on in the mind, and then that influences the journey and the journey afterwards as well, because then you're coming back maybe even to a busy life and you're just right back to ordinary busyness. And so there can still be a value in the psychedelic experience itself. It can be a beautiful peak experience with great insights, absolutely. But when you're in this state, there seems to be, at least for me, that there's a bit of that value and potential lost along the way. There is a greater potential for integration by giving awareness and care to the preparation. And also on the practical level, when we look at the preparation holistically, we look at the physical, mental, emotional, social, environmental, and spiritual preparation of our journey. We have very physical influencers that are influencing the journey and the integration. For example, a simple one is diet. Let me take these off. It's very confusing. Everything is scattered into crystals. We have the very kind of like physical aspect of diet. When we're dieting, or when we're aware of our intake of food right before a journey, weeks before the journey, and maybe even on the day or 2 days before the journey, I like to do like around 8 hours, depending on what substance as well and what dose. We go into a mode of fasting. We really tune into the journey, and it influences the journey in a way, in a very tangible way, that it potentiates the journey, the power of the journey even. At least what I find. Instead of eating a big burger right before taking the substance, it lowers the effect of the journey. With the mental preparation or the spiritual preparation, what I like to do is to read scripture, to read really deep wisdom, words of wisdom that are precious to me. I'm rereading a couple of books of mine that reinforce a certain pattern or a certain attitude with which I go into the journey. For example, the dance of detached appreciation, which I get from Bodhidharma at times. And so that automatically influences the journey. And with that forms a sacred space of intention. It doesn't necessarily have to be a specific intention, even though it can be. Like a question of what is love? What is consciousness? Who am I? These broader questions are very nice. Or also just an openness of, hey medicine, like show me what my next steps are. What do I want to do with my life? Or what about this relationship? Right? All of this is kind of like priming us to go into the journey with a sense of care and intention, which is showing that we're respecting the medicine, that we're respecting this sacred space that we're opening up. And through just that respect alone, we're getting more out of the journey instead of not doing that. So preparation is a crucial part for the integration of the journey. It's one of the most important parts of the journey itself. It's what you do before you take the substance. And then a commonly overlooked one is the navigation itself. So the set and setting, and then the navigation, the practical things in the journey are influencing the integration to a great extent. I remember when I was starting to journey, when I was 16, I was having my first couple LSD experiences, my first couple mushroom experiences. I didn't know much about setting or the form in which I wanted to conduct my journey. So I just fumbled around, I had my phone, and I was sometimes I was preparing a couple videos on my phone and talks to watch, and then I was listening to some music, but it was kind of like directive music with lots of lyrics. And I was going outside, and sometimes I was in wacket kind of like settings and environments where I did not feel comfortable, or I was just like taking the LSD right after work. I remember like I was working in a restaurant, and right when I was done, like I was popping the LSD and then driving home with the bus, and in the bus it just started to unfold, and it's like, obviously, with this kind of like approach, I got a massive value out of the journey. But when I compare to my conduct of journey right now and what I'm doing in the journey, which is usually when I'm not outside, it's with these beautiful headphones and with an eye mask, which I don't have here right now. And I really, in the preparation, I care about the journeying and the music. And then I just lay down with the eye mask and I just close my eyes, usually with non-directive music, without lyrics, and I let the journey unfold in that way. There is just a different flavor of the journey that is unfolding. And I have found that I can get deeper into the journey and more out of the journey when I give care to my awareness in the psychedelic space itself. An interesting one is also like how you're navigating the psychedelic space. So, for example, with the attitude, and it's a skill to learn psychedelic journeying itself, the navigation itself. I get proportionally more out of the journey the more I am able to surrender. So, for example, the attitude and skill of surrender and letting go into the journey is, first of all, potentiating the journey again, bringing me into deeper depth and deeper realizations. And this automatically then leads to a deeper embodiment afterwards in the integration phase. Instead of me being full on in my monkey mind, thinking about this, thinking about that, being distracted about this, and what about this? When I'm able to navigate the journey and I'm staying with the breath and I'm surrendering, that alone, that skill of navigation to go deeper into the journey itself is accelerating the integration to a great extent. So it's about the physical things you're literally doing and where you are when you are journeying that can influence the integration, and then the mindset as well. Towards the end of a journey, it's funny, sometimes you notice towards the end of a journey, the monkey mind is stepping in again, and it's already reflecting on what's happened and how you might share this or take this forward or do this. And even there, I found that's a nice point to practice as well in the navigation, to rest in the experience. Don't feel the need to jump up all of a sudden and do this and do that and take action. It's like, no, you're still in the journey. Like, you're literally just 4 hours into the mushrooms and have maybe a 2 hour calm down. Like rest a little bit, calm the mind and let it sink in. Let the realization sink in. And then basically the moment you're coming down, you're transitioning into the third phase of what is commonly known the integration. The integration doesn't happen the day after the journey. No, it happens right the second you're transitioning from navigation to integration. And then it's about, right, navigating the mind, navigating the body, and having your own kind of system. There's an infinite depth to this topic of integration. It's very unique for every single individual to capture insights, to take them forward, right? What it means for your life. And it's coming back to the intention of the journey, which might help you reflect on the insights. And it really is an individual kind of process on where you are at in your journey and what you want to do. Maybe you're also sometimes confused coming out of the journey, looking for help in community, getting into conversation, talking to a coach. Whatever else helps you, is the journey of integration. More videos on integration are about to come. Lots of a big part of the integration is also avoiding pitfalls and being very aware of the dangers of this path, not falling into self-deception and really kind of believing a story that unfolded out of a vision or whatever, and misinterpreting it to a certain degree, which can lead to harming yourself or others. Practicing discernment and all of this kind of stuff. Infinitely deep topic, the integration itself. But what I have found especially, and this is kind of the secret sauce or the bigger picture insight on this journey, is especially when you're somebody like me, you don't necessarily have to be, but I found when I'm journeying again and again. So I'm what is commonly known as a psychonaut, someone who's exploring or embarking on inner journeys of exploring the mind or spirit. And I do go into journeys quite regularly, and when it's a practice, psychedelics as a spiritual and personal practice, it means I'm going in over and over again, several times a year, maybe once a month, into a lower dose journey. All these phases, they merge into one. There is no difference anymore between the preparation and the integration. Sometimes not even between the navigation and the integration and the preparation, when there's some 5-MeO experiences and there's a prolonged afterglow for weeks afterwards, where I'm still kind of like in psychedelic space. My whole life kind of like became a psychedelic journey. The psychedelic journey is not something separate from my life anymore, because it's incorporated into my life. And so everything I do becomes the integration. This is kind of like the insight that I've had along my journey, is psychedelic integration is nothing else but life itself. There's no difference between the preparation and the integration in that sense as well then, because it's all one process. And everything that I do, everything that I eat, everything that I read, every communication that I have and every interaction with the world, where I am, what I'm doing with my life, what I'm working on, all that is my integration. You know? Your integration is your life. It's not your journaling practice. It's not your meditation where you're just sitting 1 hour a day. Your integration doesn't stop with any practice. You know, it's everything. That's what integration means. It's wholeness. It is everything. So it is not limited by anything or reduced down to anything, any particular thing. But everything you do is your integration. And that integration also, I feel it never ends. So sometimes there's still an integration happening from my first Bufo experience, which happened 9 years ago. There's still an integration happening. There's a couple new perspectives on that. I'm still thinking about it. I'm still feeling into that experience. Doesn't mean I can't have 10 more Bufo experiences after that. But the journey of integration, it feels like, it feels to me, it's infinite. It doesn't end with any particular action or insight or realization. It just keeps on going. And that's the beauty of it as well. There's a certain sense of beauty in that journey of integration. Basically, also, if you're still here, you're quite lucky, because this is a picture here, right here, of the Psychedelic Actualization Framework. This is basically my framework for integration. And there's a video right here which you can watch where I go into this framework a little bit more. It's what I teach all my clients. It's what I work through. And it really captures beautifully kind of like the insight I've had around these 3 phases of integration. Because all of these things that are shown there, they support the preparation, they support the navigation, and they support the integration. It's in this space of nothingness, we're dancing the dance of detached appreciation, and then based on the core pillars of truth, of health, and of love, which are crucial for going into psychedelic space and integrating psychedelic space, we look at the very practical things of cultivating the character traits and the attitudes to take on in life, cultivating the habits, taking action, having practices in place, and also, what are the other 2? Also being aware what's really important to us, our values, and the vision on where we're going and where we're actually taking the steps towards where we want to be, the unfoldment and actualization of our potential. So if you're curious in support on your integration journey, I do offer one-on-one coaching. Link is in the video description. And otherwise, I'm wishing you a beautiful day. Thanks for enjoying this video, and yeah, let's go outside and enjoy the sun or the rain, whatever is present with you right now. Much love.